SOS, Kate Floss reporting live. We've been invaded. SOS, New Zealand, Scotland, Ireland, England, everybody in the Commonwealth, you've got to come in and help us. New Zealand has been invaded. They've taken over our government. Jacinda Ardern together. I'm telling you, this is a takeover by Russell M. Nelson of the Latter-day Saint Church, Jacinda Ardern and all of her family. The 12 apostles of the Latter-day Saint Church have invaded our country. They're trying to force us to leave the Commonwealth against our will, and we don't want to leave, but they're making many changes to our legislation behind our backs and doing many things against the Commonwealth countries to cause animosity between our countries and have us out of the Commonwealth. Now, the Solomon Islands was just recently, they had been encouraged. It's all this go independent thing of the United Nations. They're going around country by country telling them to be independent, to get out of their protections. Now, they did this in the Solomon Islands. They told the Solomon Islands to get out of the protections of Australia, and then just recently, they've sold the Solomon Islands to China for $100 billion or something like that. Well, you might think to yourself that China's all involved with it, but I'm saying it's America. I'm saying it's America that's doing all this because America wants an excuse to put nuclear weapons in Australia to control the Pacific. And so it's no different from Ukraine and no different from Russia, where America went into Ukraine. The president of Ukraine had lived many years in America, and he knew exactly what to do. And they went into Ukraine and they flooded the country with money. They gave them all this money, and then they got them to sign all these treaties and all these things. And then they turned around and said, right, we're going to put out all our weapons on your border with Russia. Now, Russia said, no, you're not going to do that. We're going to stop you. And in fact, the Ukrainians had turned tail and they had said they didn't want to be involved with America anymore. And so this is what the battle is going on. Now, Jacinda Ardern, in 2006, they changed the New Zealand law to allow foreigners to come and work in New Zealand Parliament. And they put this man here in charge of immigration. Now, this man here is not born to New Zealand parents. He comes from an island called Tokelau Island. He's nothing to do with New Zealand. And he and the 60% of New Zealand Parliament are made up of foreigners that they've put in the last few years. And these foreigners, we've got Iranian refugees, we've got Somalian refugees, we've got a Mexican popcorn seller plucked out of a movie theater, and this guy here used to work, he used to do media or something, and now he is the Minister of Justice. How does a guy like this get to be Minister of Justice? And he's the Minister of Immigration, not born to New Zealand, and all these people in our Parliament are working against us, and they all belong to the Latter-day Saint Church of Russell M. Nelson, and they're all governed under these 12 apostles here from America. Now, these guys here won't do anything unless they're told. Now, a situation has come up here, and I'm going to tell you why New Zealand is being invaded by Afghan refugees. Well, not Afghan refugees, Afghan army. New Zealand's being invaded by the Afghan army backed by America. Now, what's America been doing? They've been hopping around the world, picking off countries, picking off all their resources, picking off all their lands. So they've just put out this one here. It's called vaccine. I don't know if you can see it, but it's called Vaccine Requirements. And it says, now, the 1688 Bill of Rights, the 1688 Bill of Rights, Will and Mary, we have put in a petition that it was illegal under forfeiture of person without conviction. It was illegal under our 1688 Bill of Rights from Will and Mary to stop New Zealand people from entering New Zealand and saying to them that they had to have a vaccine or they weren't allowed to come home. Now, they recently changed the travel thing to allow that because it was actually constitutionally illegal for them to do it, right? Now, they've gone and changed it, and so then they turned around and said, who does not need, make sure I get my papers right here. It says, right, so it says on here, who needs proof of vaccination to enter New Zealand? And they said non-New Zealand citizens need, first of all, sorry, yeah, okay, I'll do that one. Yes, who needs proof of vaccination to enter New Zealand? Non-New Zealand citizens, including all permanent residents, and non-New Zealand citizens transiting to New Zealand. So if you're not a New Zealand citizen, but you have a permanent residency, so you can have children, you can even have a wife there, you could have a wife there, you could have a husband there, and if you want to come back to New Zealand to see your wife, you have to be vaccinated, okay? But who does not need to have a visa? Oh, I've got my papers mixed up here. Okay, who does not need to have a vaccination if you're entering into New Zealand? I've definitely lost my papers here. Sorry, just 1 minute. Okay, here it is. So who does not need proof of vaccination to enter New Zealand? Listen up. This is Chris Barboy. Who's he? He said does not need to have a vaccination. Have a listen. If you are a New Zealand citizen, you don't need to have a vaccination. If you are under 16, you don't need to have a vaccination. But here, listen to this. If you are a refugee entering New Zealand, you do not need to be vaccinated. If you are a citizen of Afghanistan, you do not need to be vaccinated. Now, who's all coming in from Afghanistan? Well, it's all the Afghan army that worked together with America that they're evacuating. America has closed down their refugee and their immigration intake. They shut it down. Donald Trump shut it down, and then all the countries like New Zealand that went to Afghanistan to help America as peacekeepers who were not actually involved in the combat but agreed to go as peacekeepers, all those countries, New Zealand, Australia, maybe England, you better go and check yours, all of those countries have got to take in the Afghan army that were working together with America. And I'm saying they have just brought in American law into New Zealand, Nexus Lexus. They have removed British law from New Zealand against our will and behind our backs. And they've put in this global law. It's a global law. The next video is going to tell you about it. The global law of Nexus Lexus. They've removed British law, put in the Nexus Lexus, and now they're bringing in their American-backed, their American-trained Afghan army above New Zealand permanent residents. Now, also, here's the third one. So you can be a refugee and you don't need to be vaccinated. You can be an Afghan army personnel that were previously working with America, and you can be a citizen of Ukraine who is being evacuated to New Zealand. Now, all these people that are coming from Ukraine and those countries, I can't guarantee. I will say this so that I don't get prosecuted. I will say I am suspicious because Russia and all of those countries have forbidden these Mormons and these Jehovah's Witnesses to establish their organisations in their countries. Why? Because they take over governments, that's why. And they've taken over our New Zealand government. Jacinda Ardern, she's a Mormon, her father's a Mormon, her uncle's a Mormon, all the Arderns are Mormons, and he's all involved with the church, they're all involved. The separation of church and state has been destroyed. They're not following the rules of the separation of church and state. And then the people that they're bringing in to our countries are actually, I believe, in my conspiracy theory, are the church members of the Jehovah's Witness church and the Mormon church that were in these countries. They're bringing them into our New Zealand and Australia and England. And America has put a blocker on it. I'm telling you, I'm not trusting America at the moment. So it seems to me, so if you are a United Kingdom person and you're a permanent resident in New Zealand, or if you are an Australian person and you're a permanent resident in New Zealand, you're not allowed to enter New Zealand unless you're vaccinated. Now, we know in Australia, a huge population of Australians are related, very closely related to New Zealand people, Scottish people, Irish people. So if you belong to any of those groups, you're not allowed to come into New Zealand, even to see your family in New Zealand. And however, if you're a refugee, or if you're an Afghan army personnel trained by America, or if you're a Ukrainian Latter-day Saint or Jehovah's Witness, you are all permitted to enter New Zealand without a vaccine. And not only that, you're not even the option of doing the 2 weeks MIQ, not vaccinating, and doing the 2 weeks of MIQ. You're not allowed to do that anymore either. So it's either get vaccinated or you can't come in. Or if you want to go out and visit your families, you have to get vaccinated. So I have used my 1688. I've used my 1688 Bill of Rights of New Zealand. And I have said that the United Kingdom, which includes Scotland, Northern Ireland, Scotland, Ireland, and England, I have used my because they have their 1688 Bill of Rights. Our 1688 Bill of Rights comes from the United Kingdom. So I've used my 1688 and we're petitioning the court, and we're going to say to the court that the United Kingdom people should have exactly the same rights under their 1688 of no forfeiture of person without conviction to enter back into New Zealand to see their families and continue their permanent resident status. So we don't know how this is going to go, but we're really using our this is called your written common law. We're going to get away from the spoken common law that is getting people into prison and causing all sorts of problems, and we're going to bring in our written common law. So that's where Kate Floss is up to today. Signing out, and God bless to all of you. Kate Floss.